Hi friends, Nick here from Technology Lowdown. Today we're doing a bit of a different segment. We're talking about some IPv6, 5G, and NBN Co news. I've been following for the past couple of months news on IPv6 because it's something which I am following quite closely because I'm quite amazed that the big telcos and corporations within Australia don't seem to be picking up on IPv6 within Australia. And of course 5G, it's that cellular technology that's being rolled out worldwide at the moment. It's being rolled out in the US and it's in the early stages within Australia. And you know, there's the news on the Huawei ban. Of course, I'm going to get that pronunciation right by the end of this video. So today we're looking at NBN Co and the new 120 plans which retail service providers will be releasing in Australia. We're also looking at some independent fiber providers within Australia that in competition to NBN Co in terms of competing for installing fiber services within housing estates. We're also looking briefly at Aussie Broadband, who have IPv6 as part of their service. It's in a beta trial still at the moment, but earlier last week they had some problems with their routers, their Cisco routers that they use, which it ended up kind of bringing their routing to a standstill. But since early this week, it looks like it might all be up and running. So we'll be looking at this shortly, as well as 5G within Australia and Huawei, which is sometimes pronounced as Huawei, but it's actually Huawei, and how, because of the ban that the Australian government has put on Huawei with them coming to Australia and providing services to Australians through retail service providers, that it will negatively affect Australians and mean that they will be paying higher prices for 5G because there's limited suppliers that can actually supply to Australia. All this and more in today's video. So today we're looking at how NBN Co is really starting to push their speeds of 120 connections. So they're looking at lowering the price of the 100 megabit service in the new year to attract people to the new speed tier, which is the 120 tier, which ultimately means you're getting less speed than what was previously provided on the 140 plan, which I've been on once, the 140 plan, which I loved when I was on it, when I had fiber to the premise, but at the moment I'm on fiber to the node, which means I'm getting speeds nowhere near that speed at all. So that is coming in 2020, something to look forward to there. We've also got the difficulty that NBN Co has in competing for these new housing estates. So for those of you who aren't aware, when it comes to new housing estates, the builders are able to tender for fiber installers to install fiber within the estates and complete the work that NBN Co could carry out and make money from, or the private industry bodies could actually install the fiber and do it at probably a cheaper rate than NBN Co and probably do a much better job than they would also in a housing estate. This is good and bad. It's bad for NBN Co in the fact that they would lose out on all that money that comes from doing work in these greenfield estates, whereas the private bodies are getting this money to put in the service, and then all that NBN Co is making is the money from the your retail service provider who is paying NBN Co that charge to access the NBN Co access network. So it's good and bad. It's good that we've got that competition in the industry, but at the same time it's probably affecting the baseline for NBN Co in terms of how much money and profitability that they can make. Now, some examples of this is this is mostly in relation to apartments, but we have independent fiber network providers in Australia, such as Spirit here and Opticom, and these providers in Australia have fiber networks which quite often go directly to apartment buildings. And when you're actually signing up to an internet plan through an apartment, which is just like a estate, you're connecting to the network of these providers, which is Opticom or Spirit. And when you're connecting, you're going through their network and not actually through NBN's network. So these are starting to pop up all around Australia. Slightly different to the housing estates. Housing estates would still be going through NBN Co, But it won't be long until I think we will start to see this happening in estates, because there is money to be made and the private industry will likely get involved in that. Other news out was last week Aussie Broadband had issues with their IPv6, which meant that IPv6 went down for their customers. Now, IPv6 within Australia is not readily available with internet service providers. In fact, in my experience, the only internet provider which has actually had IPv6 has been Internode and Aussie Broadband. Not many others do. I know that with Internode that their service is quite exceptional and it works. It uses prefix delegation, and in fact one of my early videos on this channel was how to set up IPv6 using the prefix delegation method on a Ubiquiti Edge router. Currently, I have tried getting the Aussie Broadband prefix delegation working through my Edge router, but it doesn't seem to be working on my setup, so I've since opted for Hurricane Electric IPv6 tunnel, which is the solution for me. But it looks like it is actually back up and running for Aussie Broadband customers. You see, last week here, there was problems there was a problem reported with their Cisco equipment not doing the functionality of IPv6 correctly, which is affecting the network. So it was temporarily disabled for a period of time. As we can see here, we've got this message here from John Alexandra, a representative of Aussie Broadband, and they say it kind of broke everything. But if we're jumping forward, I think it's to today, we can see that the testing of the patch is working, and it seems to be that they might actually have a solution and they're ready for a launch. So it looks like that was a really quick turnaround for Aussie Broadband to fix up the IPv6. So let me know if you're with Aussie Broadband. Do you have IPv6 connectivity? If you are on the trial, has it come back for you yet? If it has, let me know in the comments, and it'll be great to find out. So some other news with 5G is that it's bringing faster speeds to Australia, which is great. But there's a bit of a fear that with 5G coming to Australia, that Australians would be essentially paying a tax on it because it is too hard for Australian providers to find suppliers to supply 5G, because at the moment Huawei is banned from Australia, which means that there's a limited choice of suppliers, such as I think Ericsson might have a 5G solution, and there's probably a couple others out there as well. So I hope you've enjoyed that video on IPv6, NBN Co, and 5G within Australia. And I think I might finally have that pronunciation correct for Huawei. How's that sound? A bit better than I had at the beginning of this video. Well, thanks for watching this video. If you've liked this, subscribe, and don't forget to click the like button if you like this, and check out some of my other videos. Thanks for watching. Bye.